Hey, what's up guys? Since we're going to be doing a couple Victarion videos ahead of a couple videos that lead into the pink letter, I figured I'm going to do this little sample reading of one of my favorite little passages in the entire story, where Victarion fights. What makes this passage so great is not necessarily the fight, which is awesome, it's the extra color to the fight, specifically Victarion's thoughts after the fight about his main foe during the fight. It reminds me of that fight that Barristan had in the book, so link above to that little reading. What made that fight so good was the extra color, like this line here. For the first time all day, Selmy felt certain. This is what I was made for, he thought. The dance, the sweet steel song, a sword in my hand, and a foe before me. So yeah, hang in there to the end if you want to hear that extra piece about Victarion which makes this passage so good, but yeah, thank you George R.R. Martin. Here we go. This is from the beginning of the chapter called The Reaver and A Feast for Crows. The drums were pounding out a battle beat as the Iron Victory swept forward, her ram cutting through the choppy green waters. The small ship ahead was turning, oars slapping at the sea. Roses streamed upon her banners. Fore and aft, a white rose upon a red escutcheon. Atop her mast, a golden one on a field as green as grass. The Iron Victory raked her side so hard that half the boarding party lost their feet. Oars snapped and splintered. Sweet music to the captain's ears. He vaulted over the gunwale, landing on the deck below with his golden cloak billowing behind him. The white roses drew back, as men always did at the sight of Victarion Greyjoy, armed and armored, his face hidden behind his cracking helm. They were clutching swords and spears and axes, but 9 of every 10 wore no armor, and the 10th had only a shirt of sewn scales. These are no Iron Men, Victarion thought. They still fear drowning. Get him, one man shouted. He's alone. Come, he roared back. Come kill me, if you can. From all sides, the rosy warriors converged, with gray steel in their hands and terror behind their eyes. Their fear was so ripe, Victarion could taste it. Left and right, he laid about, hewing off the first man's arm at the elbow, cleaving through the shoulder of the second. The third buried his own axe head in the soft pine of Victarion's shield. He slammed it into the fool's face, knocked him off his feet, and slew him when he tried to rise again. As he was struggling to free his axe from the dead man's ribcage, a spear jabbed in between the shoulder blades. It felt as though someone had slapped him on the back. Victarion spun and slammed his axe down onto the spearman's head, feeling the impact in his arm as the steel went crunching through the helm and hair and skull. The man swayed for half a heartbeat, till the Iron Captain wrenched the steel free and sent his corpse staggering loose-limbed across the deck, looking more drunk than dead. By then, his Ironborn had followed him down onto the deck of the broken longship. He heard Wolf One Ear let out a howl as he went to work, glimpsed Ragnar Pike in his rusted mail, saw Newt the Barber send a throwing axe spinning through the air to catch a man in the chest. Victarion slew another man and another. He would have killed a third, but Ragnar cut him down first. Well struck, Victarion bellowed at him. When he turned to find the next victim for his axe, he spied the other captain across the deck. His white surcoat was spotted with blood and gore, but Victarion could make out the arms upon his breast, the white rose within its red escutcheon. The man bore the same device upon his shield, on a white field with a red embattled border. You, the Iron Captain called across the carnage, you of the rose. Be you the Lord of Southshield? The other raised his visor to show a beardless face. His son and heir, Sir Talbot Serry. And who are you, Kraken? Your death. Victarion bowled toward him. Serry leapt to meet him. His longsword was good, castle-forged steel, and the young knight made it sing. His first cut was low, and Victarion deflected it off his axe. His second caught the Iron Captain on the helm before he got his shield up. Victarion answered with a sidearm blow of his axe. Serry's shield got in the way. Wooden splinters flew, and the white rose split lengthwise with a sweet, sharp crack. The young knight's longsword hammered at his thigh, once, twice, thrice, screaming against the steel. This boy is quick, the Iron Captain realized. He smashed his shield in Serry's face and sent him staggering back against the gunwale. Victarion raised his axe and put all his weight behind his cut to open the boy from neck to groin, but Serry spun away. The axe had crashed through the rail, sending splinters flying and lodged there when he tried to pull it free. The deck moved under his feet, and he stumbled to one knee. Sir Talbot cast away his broken shield and slashed down with his longsword. Victarion's own shield had twisted half around when he stumbled. He caught Ciri's blade in an iron fist. Lobstered steel crunched, and a stab of pain made him grunt, yet Victarion held on. "I am quick as well, boy," he said as he ripped the sword from the knight's hand and flung it into the sea. Sir Talbot's eyes went wide. "My sword..." Victarion caught the lad about the throat with a bloody fist. "Go and get it," he said, forcing him backwards over the side into the blood-stained waters. That won him a respite to pull his axe loose. The white roses were falling back before the iron tide. Some tried to flee below decks as others cried for quarter. Victarion could feel warm blood trickling down his fingers beneath the mail leather and lobstered plate, but that was nothing. Around the mast, a thick knot of foemen fought on, standing shoulder to shoulder in a ring. These few were men at least. They would sooner die than yield. Victarion would grant some of them that wish. He beat his axe against his shield and charged them. The drowned god had not shaped Victarion Greyjoy to fight with words at king's moods, nor struggle against furtive sneaking foes in endless bogs. This was why he had been put on earth, to stand steel-clad with an axe, red and dripping in his hand, dealing death with every blow. They hacked at him from front and back, but their swords might have been willow switches for all the harm they did him. No blade could cut through Victarion Greyjoy's heavy plate, nor did he give his foes the time to find the weak points at the joints, where only mail and leather warded him. Let 3 men assail him, or 4 or 5, it made no matter. He slew them one at a time, trusting his steel to protect him from the others. As each foe fell, he turned his wrath upon the next. The last man to face him must have been a smith. He had shoulders like a bull, and one much more muscular than the other. His armor was a studded brigandine and a cap of boiled leather. The only blow he landed completed the ruin of Victarion's shield, but the cut the captain dealt in answer split his head in two. Would that I could deal with a crow's eye as simply. When he jerked his axe head free again, the smith's skull seemed to burst. Bone and blood and brain went everywhere, and the corpse fell forward, up against his legs. Too late to plead for quarter now, Victarion thought, as he untangled himself from the dead man. By then, the deck was slick beneath his feet, and the dead and the dying lay in heaps on every side. He threw his shield away and sucked in air. "Lord Captain," he heard the barber say beside him, "the day is ours." All around, the sea was full of ships. Some were burning, some were sinking, some had been smashed to splinters. Between the hulls, the water was thick as stew, full of corpses, broken oars, and men clinging to the wreckage. In the distance, 6 southern longships were racing back toward the Mander. Let them go, Victarion thought. Let them tell the tale. Once a man had turned his tail and run from battle, he ceased to be a man. His eyes were stinging from the sweat that had run down into them during the fight. 2 of his oarsmen helped undo his cracking helm so he might lift it off. Victarion mopped at his brow. "That night," he grumbled. "The night of the White Rose. Did any of you pull him out? A lord's son would be worth a goodly ransom. From his father, if Lord Ciri had survived the day. From his liege at Highgarden, if not." None of his men had seen what became of the knight after he went over the side, however. Most like, the man had drowned. May he feast as he fought in the drowned god's watery halls. Though the men of the Shield Islands called themselves sailors, they crossed the seas in dread and went lightly clad in battle for fear of drowning. Young Ciri had been different. A brave man, thought Victarion, almost ironborn. He gave the captured ship to Ragnar Pike, named 12 men to crew her, and clambered back up onto his own Iron Victory. "Strip the captives of their armor and have their wounds bound up," he told Newt the barber. "Throw the dying in the sea. If any beg for mercy, cut their throats first." He had only contempt for such. Better to drown on seawater than on blood. "I want a count of the ships we won and all the knights and lordlings we took captive. I want their banners too." One day, he would hang them in his hall, so when he grew old and feeble, he could remember all the foes he had slain when he was young and strong.